Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining us for this year's Community Yom HaShoah observance. Just a word of personal privilege. I think many of you know that this is that year where I face retirement, and so I'm very reflective of the things that I've done and am proud of. When I came in 1988, I noticed that there was a Yom HaShoah observance. At that time, it was at Temple Beth Shalom, and I came up with the idea why maybe it could be rotated amongst the synagogues, and that started a tradition of rotating Yom HaShoah amongst the synagogues in our community. And so that was my first community program. Everyone saw this young pup of a rabbi and wondering, can he put together a community event? What will it look like? And so this is, in a sense, the last one that I planned before I retire, and it feels like coming full circle. Irene Updike, a righteous Gentile, was our very first speaker. Some of you may have heard of her and her legacy. So thank you for that moment of reflection. So it is with deep gratitude that I welcome you on behalf of the Board of Rabbis of Southern Nevada, and my co-chair for this event is Rabbi Cookie Leah Olshine. In fact, more than a co-chair, Rabbi Olshine has done the bulk of the work, and I am very much indebted to her, especially with my senioritis this year. She has done so much, and I am very grateful to her. Together with the tireless dedication of Esther Finder, who she also has worked so hard on this and made this happen for the survivors and their families. The steadfast support of Jewish Nevada and the compassionate partnership of King David Mortuary, we hope to have created an observance of remembrance that is very special this year, both sacred and solemn. So each year as we mark this day, we find ourselves one step farther from the events of the Holocaust, but also one step closer to a moment when no survivors will remain to tell the story themselves. And so this year, with intention and love, we chose to elevate the voices of our survivors and their descendants to bring their presence to the very heart of this gathering. Their lives, their memories, their testimonies remind us that history is not a textbook, it is lived, it is felt. It is still being carried in the hearts of families right here in this room. And yet I find myself wondering out loud, and perhaps with a little worry, how we will continue to tell this story in the years to come. Will our children's children still feel its urgency? Will the broader community continue to come, not just the Jewish community, but neighbors of all faiths and backgrounds, recognizing that the lessons of the Shoah transcend creed and culture, that the Holocaust was not only a Jewish tragedy, but a human one. In an age where political discord too often clouds our moral compass, I fear we risk forgetting. I fear that societal distractions may dull memory. And so I ask, how do we preserve the cautionary tale of the Holocaust when society seems to be moving faster and caring less? Today's speaker, Dr. Stephen Smith, offers us one compelling answer. As a pioneer in Holocaust education and co-founder of the USC Shoah Foundation's interactive hologram project, Dr. Smith has harnessed the power of artificial intelligence to allow survivors to tell their stories, even after they are gone. These living testimonies, as they are called, allow new generations to ask questions and receive responses as if the survivor were standing before them. And we'll see that demonstrated after our observance here, hence the television. That is going to turn into a hologram of a survivor. But I must ask, and perhaps you've asked too, is this innovation a breakthrough or a boundary? Will young people view these digital encounters as meaningful conversation or as simulation? Will this be education or entertainment? Will memory be enhanced or risk becoming mistaken for a deep fake? We will experience a demonstration and begin to consider the answer. And more than technology, more than innovation, what matters most tonight or this afternoon is really that we remember. We honor those who lived through the unthinkable. We listen to the voices of their children and grandchildren. We sit in sacred witness carrying their stories forward. And we renew our pledge with open hearts and solemn conviction. Never forget. May this afternoon inspire not only memory but moral clarity, not only mourning but meaning, and not only reflection but resolve. Thank you. And so we begin.
אשרי הגפרור שנשרף והצית להבות. אשרי הלהבה שבערה בסתרי לבבות. אשרי הלבבות שידעו לחדול בכבוד. אשרי הגפרור שנשרף והצית להבות. Blessed is the match consumed in kindling flame. Blessed is the flame that burns in the heart's secret place. Blessed is the heart with strength to stop its beating for honor's sake. Blessed is the match consumed in a kindling flame.
We are the survivors of the ghettos, camps, and forests. We are the children you entrusted to strangers in a desperate attempt to save us. We are Sherit HaPleita, the surviving remnant.
We are the sons, daughters, and grandchildren born out of the ashes of the Shoah.
We stand here today and accept our responsibility to
Preserve
preserve
and protect the legacy of the Holocaust. We pledge to commemorate, we pledge to educate, we pledge to remember.
We pledge to you, the survivors who suffered in ways which words cannot describe, that our commitment is for our generation and for every generation to come.
We dedicate this to our grandparents, our parents, our aunts, our uncles, cousins, brothers, and sisters who are forever missing from our lives.
We dedicate this pledge to all the 6 million Jewish men, women, and children whose lives were brutally taken from them, but who will always be in our hearts.
In the presence of the eyes which witnessed the slaughter, which saw the oppression, their heart could not bear, and as witness to their heart that once taught compassion.
Until the days came to pass that crushed human feeling, I have taken an oath to remember it all, to remember, not once to forget.
Forget not one thing for the last generation, when degradation shall cease, to the last to its ending, when the rod of instruction shall come to the conclusion.
An oath, not in vain, passed over the night of terror. An oath, no morning shall see me at flesh pots again. An oath, lest from this we learn nothing.
Wenn ich nimm der Mohnen sich, wenn ich bin a Kind geworden, in der Gisele, das schöne Hall, wie hat sich ungeschehen. Das Bäumele, das Mehlehol, will ich es wenn noch sehen. Was ist geworden von mein Städtele? Was ist geworden von der Alten?
Underground organizations were formed in about 100 ghettos throughout Poland, Lithuania, Belarus, and the Ukraine, whose purpose was to stage armed uprisings or break out of the ghetto by force in order to join the partisans on the outside.
The most famous ghetto revolt was the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. The Nazis entered the ghetto on April 19, 1943, in order to resume deportations to extermination camps. The Jews, led by the Jewish Fighting Organization, then began the revolt, bravely holding off the Germans for 3 weeks. Dozens of survivors managed to escape to the partisans.
Sometimes we must interfere when human lives are endangered, when human dignity is in jeopardy, national borders and sensitivities become irrelevant. Wherever men or women are persecuted because of their race, religion, or political views, that place must, at that moment, become the center of the universe.
אני מאמין, אני מאמין באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח. אני מאמין באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח. אני מאמין, אני מאמין, ואף על פי שיתממע עם כל זה אחכה לו בכל יום שיבוא, שיבוא, שיבוא. אני מאמין, אני מאמין באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח. אני מאמין באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח. אני מאמין, אני מאמין.
The words of Elie Wiesel. I swore never to be silent whenever and wherever human beings endure suffering and humiliation. We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented.
It's difficult in times like these. Ideals, dreams, and cherished hopes rise within us, only to be crushed by grim reality. It's a wonder I haven't abandoned all my ideals, as they seem so absurd and impractical. Yet I cling to them because I still believe, in spite of everything, that people are truly good at heart.
It's utterly impossible for me to build my life on a foundation of chaos, suffering, and death. I see the world being slowly transformed into a wilderness. I hear the approaching thunder that one day will destroy us too. I feel the suffering of millions.
And yet, when I look up at the sky, I somehow feel that everything will change for the better, that this cruelty too shall end, that peace and tranquility will return once more.
In the meantime, I must hold on to my ideals. Perhaps the day will come when I'm able to realize them.
The very last, so richly, brightly, dazzling yellow. Perhaps if the sun's tears could sing against a white stone, such a yellow is carried lightly way up high. It went away, I'm sure, because it wished to kiss the world goodbye. The very last, so richly, brightly, dazzling yellow. Perhaps if the sun's tears could sing against a white stone. For 7 weeks I've lived in here, pent up inside this ghetto. But I have found my people here. The dandelion called me, and the white chestnut candles in the cold. Only I never saw another butterfly. The very last, so richly, brightly, dazzling yellow. Perhaps if the sun's tears could sing against a white stone. That butterfly was the last one. Butterflies don't live in here.
I am a Jew, and will be a Jew forever. Even if I should die from hunger, never will I submit. I will always fight for my people on my honor. I will never be ashamed of them, I give my word. I am proud of my people, how dignified they are. Even if I am suppressed, I will always come back to life.
If worry and despondency seek our undoing, then we should think about Yizkor, memory, in such a way that we carry on the work of our ancestors from Sinai. in that we today are truly their children, and in that we are parents of the future generations. Then the chain does not break, and we gain strength to carry out nobly these historical responsibilities, and to thank God sincerely that Youth Corps has become the celebration of our soul.
As we gather here today to observe Yom HaShoah, we light these 6 candles in remembrance of the 6 million Jewish lives lost during the Holocaust. Each flame represents not only a life extinguished, but also the stories, the families, and the vibrant communities that were destroyed. The 7th candle we light honors millions of non-Jews, including the Roma, disabled individuals, and others, who also perished during this dark period of history. Together, these lights symbolize both the profound loss and also the enduring spirit that those who were affected by this atrocity. Let this ceremony serve as a solemn reminder of the past and a call to ensure that such horrors are never repeated.
So we call forward our survivors, one by one, to light one of the candles up here. you're going to help them light it. One candle. Six candles for the 6 million. The seventh lit by Reverend Adrian Dahl, representing those who are not Jewish who also perished at this time of human sorrow. Zichronam Levracha, may the memories of all the righteous always be a blessing. And now I invite Alex Kushel to come forward to lead us in a special version of El Malei Rachamim. Alex? He told me he's a youngster, 101, Kenahora. Alex, no jogging and showing off. We all rise for El Malei.
El Malei Rachamim, Afarachamim, שוכן מרוממים זכרנה כל אחינו בני ישראל שמסרו נפשם על קידוש השם ונשחטו על ידי הרוצחים הנאצים ואת נשמות אחינו גיבורי צבא ישראל אשר הלכו לעולמם. בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם, לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירם בשאת כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרה בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם, ותהי מנוחתם חבות, וינוחו בשלום על משכבותם, ונאמר אמן.
Together, fully compassionate God on high, to our 6 million brothers and sisters murdered because they were Jews, grant clear and certain rest to you in the lofty heights of the sacred and pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Source of mercy, forever enfold them in the embrace of your wings, secure their souls in eternity. Adonai, they are yours, they will rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. I'm joined now by my colleagues, and we share with you a special version of the Mourner's Kaddish, which was created by Elie Wiesel of blessed memory. Yitkadal, Auschwitz, Vayitkadal, Lodz, Shmei Rabbah, Ponar, Bialma Divrach Hirute, Babi Yar, Vayamlich Malchute, Maidanik, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, Birkanau, Uv'chayedachol Beit Yisrael, Kovno, Ba'agalav Zman Kariv, Janavska, Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Omei Almaya, Yit Barach V'yishtabach Terejan Shat, V'yit Pa'ar V'yitramam Buchenwald, V'yit Naseh V'yit Hadar Treblinka, V'yit Halal Wilna, Shmei Dekusha Barichu Bergen-Belsen, Leila Mauthausen, Minkol Birchata V'shirata Dacha, Tush V'chata V'nechemata Minz, Damiram Bialma Warsaw V'Imaru. Amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabba Min Shemav Hayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'Imaru. Amen. Osei Shalom B'Mramav, Huya Osei Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'Imaru. Amen. May be seated.
In Germany, they came first for the communists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for me, and by that time, no one was left to speak up.
As we join in Hatikva, I ask for the clergy who are present to please join Cantor Hutchings as we join in Hatikva. Board rabbis, cantors, please, other clergy who are present. As we have completed our observance, we turn now to our special speaker. In introducing our speaker, Dr. Stephen Smith, will be Esther Finder, who is an incredible resource and gift to our community as she does so much for Holocaust education, generations of the Shoah, and the person I turn to most when I say, who should we get for a speaker this year? She says, I'm not sure if we can get him, but I know someone special. And she always comes out on top with someone to bring insights and wisdom to our community. So thank you, Esther. Take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my distinct honor and personal pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Dr. Stephen Smith. As a pioneering force in Holocaust education and remembrance, Dr. Smith has dedicated his life to ensuring that the memory and lessons of the Holocaust endure for generations to come. He founded transformative institutions, including the UK Holocaust Center and the Kigali Genocide Memorial, and served as the executive director of the USC Shoah Foundation, which is where I know him from, where he led groundbreaking initiatives in visual history preservation. He is an author, film producer, and institution builder. His work has been widely recognized with many accolades, but his greatest reward is ensuring young people learn the lessons of the Holocaust. Dr. Smith uniquely combines deep historical understanding with technological innovation. His work developing conversational AI technology has revolutionized how we preserve and share human stories, particularly those of Holocaust survivors. Through this remarkable fusion of historical wisdom and cutting-edge technology, he's creating unprecedented ways to connect future generations with testimonies that might otherwise be lost to time. Today, Dr. Smith will discuss how artificial intelligence is shaping the future of Holocaust education, ensuring that as we move further from these events, their profound lessons remain accessible, immediate, and impactful. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Stephen Smith.
Thank you, Esther. And Holocaust survivors, thank you for being with us today. We remember your families and all those you lost, and we will always remember them in our hearts and in our lives and through our actions. It was the 15th of April, 1945. The British had just arrived at Bergen-Belsen. Some of you in this room remember those few weeks towards the end of World War II that we have now come to call the Shoah, and what it meant to be released from that otherwise certain death. But for many, it was too late. Oops, we've gone a little far. For many, it was too late. Behind this young woman is a mass grave. In it, there are 5,000 corpses of those who did not survive Bergen-Belsen. When the British had arrived there just a few days before this photograph was taken, they found thousands of corpses strewn across the landscape. Mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, families. Among them was a young woman. She was watching this unfold as they took the trucks and piled the corpses on the trucks and took them to the mass grave, and then dragged the corpses and threw them into the grave. And she began to scream, "Be careful with that corpse. It could be my mother." Who was she screaming at? The former SS. They were still in their uniforms. The British had rounded them up and they had made them carry out the task of burying the dead that they had murdered. But so undignified was this scene that this young woman could not help herself. At that very moment, a camera had arrived with a gentleman by the name of Sidney Bernstein. He'd come from the British War Propaganda Unit. And as he sees this scene from Dante's Inferno unfolding before his eyes, he is filming it for posterity. And then he realizes, I need to capture the voices. Now, at that time, cameras and microphones didn't go together. These days, they're just built into our devices. He had to say, get me a microphone. And so they find Pathé News, who are recording for the radio, and they pair it together with the camera. And now they have audio visual. And his first thought is, I need to get these perpetrators to confess to what they've done. So he takes the SS and he puts them in front of the camera and he gets them to give their name and their rank and the fact that they were operating and working there. His thought was, I need to get evidence of the perpetration of the crime. And then he hears this woman screaming. He doesn't know what she's saying. It's coming out in half German, half Yiddish, half Polish. And wants to know what's the commotion, and calls her over and says, hey, stand in front of this microphone for a minute. And there she is, standing in front of a microphone and a camera with the mass grave behind her. And she begins by saying, Mein Name ist Ella Goldstein. My name is Ella Goldstein. You know, at the HaShoah Foundation, the first thing that every single person does is say their name and spell it. Do you know why? Because 6 million people were murdered, and the intention was that they would have no name. And for those that have survived, Stephen and Rosa, who I was talking to a moment ago, your name will be inscribed in the book of life. And your testimony will carry forward through the generations that we have just seen standing here, because your name and that of your parents and that of your siblings and of your family and your community matters and will be inscribed. So she says her name. Mein Name ist Ella Goldstein. Now, I was doing research for a project, an AI project. And because we like to have as much integrity as we possibly can when filming survivors, I wanted to go back in the archives to find a certain person that I thought had given a testimony or said something about her liberation from Bergen-Belsen. I recalled she was on a film somewhere and I was looking for her. Her name is Anita Lasker-Wolfish. She's 99 years old today, lives in London, survived Auschwitz, survived chain smoking for 60 years. And she will celebrate her 100th birthday in a few weeks. I was looking for Anita because we were about to interview her because she was only 94 then. I couldn't find her. But 18 minutes and 30 seconds into the film, I come across Mein Name ist Ella Goldstein. So I go to the HaShoah Foundation archive and I type in Ella Goldstein, of course. Did she give a testimony later in her life? And because of the magic of AI, it matched her instantly to Helen Collin of Houston, Texas. So I call the Houston Holocaust Center. Have you ever heard of Helen Collin? Oh, yeah. I think she's in hospice, though. Oh, no. Can you call me back and confirm? Half an hour later, she went to hospice, but she wasn't having any of it. She's left. She's gone home. I got on a plane the same day and flew to Houston. And I sat with Helen Collin with that laptop and that picture and the 90 seconds of film that followed that, in which she describes her liberation from Bergen-Belsen. And I said, remember this? She said, oh, yeah, I remember that very well. I said, so why haven't you talked about it since? because I'd already watched her testimony. She never mentioned it. Oh, I didn't think it was important. Oh, no? Do you know that was the first Holocaust testimony that you gave standing by the grave on the 24th of April, 1945? Oh, I didn't think of it that way. What was going through your mind? Honestly, I thought I was going to die. Now, I'd been filming Holocaust survivors for many years. It didn't occur to me that the courage required would be that of life and death. I mean, we sit in the comfort of our homes in Las Vegas or Los Angeles or wherever, and we film, surrounded by our family photographs and all that has transpired since. She was standing by a mass grave in a concentration camp. So I said, but why did you think you were going to die? She said, well, you're seeing me from the way the camera's pointing and the grave behind me. What I was seeing was the row of SS that were lined up in front of me, because the British thought that they should hear it from me. And so when I stepped up, I was talking to the people that just a week before would have murdered me for opening my mouth, never mind accusing them of this crime. And the fences are there, and the guard towers are there. Like, I was still traumatized. I just thought, if I open my mouth, I'm going to die. But I knew that that camera and that microphone meant I could tell the world, and it was worth it. My talk today is about technology. And sometimes we fear technology because we don't know where it'll lead us or where it'll go or what it can do or what it might. This was a use of technology when Sidney Bernstein put those two things together, the camera and the microphone. He was using technology in order to tell a story that he thought was vital to tell. And he knew that in that moment he had to innovate. And he innovated right there at Bergen-Belsen. And the result of it is we have the very first audiovisual testimony. Helen Collin and I, as it turns out, share a birthday, which is the 15th of April, which is the day that Bergen-Belsen was liberated. She was liberated on her 21st birthday at Bergen-Belsen. And so I was happy to meet her, and we agreed that we would be birthday buddies forever afterwards. And then she died 4 weeks later. But that moment for me was one of crystallization about the importance of what value do we put on testimony itself. Because today we have volumes and volumes and volumes of it. Think about it. It was 1 minute of testimony. In the HaShoah Foundation's archive, there are 113,000 hours of testimony. And thank you, Esther, for all that you did to contribute to that, and others in this room who may have given testimony or been part of the volunteer groups that helped to make that happen. 113,000 hours. We could watch it on this TV right now, but we would have to sit here for 13 years without taking a break. If we made it our job, and we're 22 years old and we're leaving college in a few weeks and we're going to start a new job, say at the HaShoah Foundation, and the young recruit says, what do you want me to do? And I say, just sit and watch the archive and tell me when you're done. When she comes back, she'll be 75. It's literally a lifetime's worth of testimony. That's technology. I walked into the HaShoah Foundation. I'm a theologian. I have never written a line of code in my life. And I had built Holocaust centers and genocide memorials. And I arrive at the HaShoah Foundation and I walk in, and I walk into the computer room, and I find we have a high-performance computing center. The fourth fastest in the United States. And I go, we've got one of those. And my chief technology officer, Sam, said, we do. And I said, okay, let's get started. He said, what do you want to do? I said, I have no idea, but I know that these testimonies belong in the world, and this computer can help us. And we spent the last decade building computer software to make sure that testimonies that were taken in Poland are heard in Polish classrooms in Polish to meet the curriculum of that Polish classroom that they're in. That somebody who gave a testimony about being in Radom, Poland, can now, their testimony can be heard in the very room, in the very school where they sat 85 years ago. And they do that in Poland, in the Ukraine, in Hungary, and all around the world. I'm going to be talking to you about an AI called conversational video today. This lady here, Erica Hall, put it very nicely. Conversation is not a new interface. It's the oldest interface. Conversation is how humans have interacted with one another and have done so for millennia. So I'm going to show you a conversational interface in a little while, but I want to just start by saying that whatever we see technologically, what we're really trying to do is how do we reach hearts and minds in a way that we most understand it, that we most communicate. This all began with somebody called Heather Mayo, who asked the question, how can technology make us more human? It all began with this lady, Rose Schindler. This photograph was taken in 2009, and as you can tell, she's a survivor of Auschwitz-Birkenau. Heather had been interviewing her throughout the day and done a beautiful project by which the grandparents would first of all tell their story sitting on the couch. At lunchtime, the children would come in, and after school, the grandchildren would come in. And by the end of the day, there's 30 people sitting in this living room, just showing the way in which these families have grown. It was called Davka. Davka, in spite of everything, here we are. Heather was talking to me after interviewing Rose, and she said, I had a really nice interview with Rose today, but it was very interesting. After the camera switched off and we were sitting in the kitchen, the conversation was completely different over our cups of tea, and I realized that my unborn grandchildren will never have a chance to have that conversation with her. I want my grandchildren in future to be able to have that conversation with her. I said, great. How are you going to do that? She said, I have no idea, but I'm going to find out. So she called IBM and she called Cisco. And eventually at USC, with the HaShoah Foundation and our technology labs, we put a project together called Dimensions in Testimony to try and find a way so that she could have a conversation with the future. There she is, actually doing the very first interview. It's a little bit grainy, and the video doesn't work. But she asked the question of her, do you have hope for the future? In which she said, yes, she does have hope in spite of everything. That was in 2010. It was the first conversational video. By 2012, we turned it into something like this. This is Pinchas Gutter, who you're going to meet in a minute, sitting inside a studio. Now, this is not the comfortable situation where we're sitting in our front room with the family photographs. In fact, he's sitting in a studio with 113 cameras and 6,000 LED lights. And we asked him 1,500 questions over 5 days. And he answered them. All 1,500 questions. There he is. Oh, this is actually a gentleman by the name of Ziggy Aryav. He did the first interview in Hebrew, because now we have this in Hebrew and Russian and Spanish and French and German and Hungarian and Swedish even, so that in the future, survivors can tell their story in their own language, in the mother tongue of those that are learning. 2016, Aaron Elster's interview was launched in Skokie, in the Holocaust Museum in Skokie, Illinois. A few weeks later, I was in Oxford demonstrating how this technology could work for future generations, and I got a call. Most unlikely of the 12 people that we'd interviewed at that point passed away. Aaron Elster, you can see, fine chap, healthy almost to the end. Quite unexpected to get that call, actually. And that morning, I went into my little booth at this expo that I was at, and I had the 12 interviews on my computer. And although I knew Aaron very well, I didn't do the interview with him. Heather had done that. So although I knew his story relatively well, I didn't know him in his story in detail. And so I pulled up his image on the screen, and there, one day after he died, he was sitting in my booth about to talk to the public. And I realized as I went to press the button, I was about to be the first person to ask somebody who was deceased a question about their life. I hesitated a moment, I have to say. And then I asked him, Aaron, what do you want your legacy to be? I'll paraphrase. He basically said something along the lines of, you don't know, what I want is young people to learn the following. You don't know what life is going to bring you. It could be terrible, and it could be quite good. And it might be all of that across this period of your lifetime. But I just want my legacy to be to say to the next generation, just keep going, invest in life, because it's really worth it. I went, wow. I'll ask him something else. 8 hours later, the public had been coming in, talking to Aaron all day, and I got to know Aaron, really got to know him, the day after he died. So I got in touch with Steve, his son, and said, Steve, I'm really sorry, I'm in Oxford, I won't be able to get to the funeral in Chicago, but I want you to know, your dad had a really good day today. Only then did I realize I'm an oral historian of 30 years experience. Only then did I realize the power of conversation that transcends generations. What Heather had conceived was absolutely correct in that moment. And so today, these testimonies are used in education. This is Pinchas Gutter. You saw him in that big bubble a few moments ago. This is what he looks like on Eyewitness, which is an education site. Now students in classrooms around the world and in museums around the world get to meet Pinchas and talk to him. And Pinchas Gutter is very much alive, and I have coffee with him every Sunday morning to this day. He's now 94. Here he is. Let's have a little talk to Pinchas. What's your name?
My name is Pinchas.
Where were you born?
I was born in Łódź, in Poland.
Can you tell me about your sister?
To be quite honest, I don't, apart from our infancy, which I remember very clearly when we shared a room and we had 2 cots on each side when we were maybe a year and a half, and I've got a very visual memory of all that, I had very little to do with my sister, because as soon as you started growing up as a little boy, you were separated. In Hasidic, in our culture, Hasidic culture, girls and boys did not mix.
What happened to your sister?
My parents and my sister were murdered in the gas chambers of Majdanek death camp.
What concentration camps were you in?
I was sent from the Warsaw Ghetto uprising to Majdanek. I was in Majdanek for approximately from 3rd week of May to the end of July, beginning of August. I was in Skarżysko for a whole year, from August to August. Also from August, end of July, to Tisha. I remember I was there until Tisha B'Av, but I don't know when Tisha B'Av. One can actually check up when Tisha B'Av was in 1944, and I would know exactly how long I was there. And then from there, I was sent to change to Chova, Ironworks, where I was there for approximately September, October, November. I was then sent to Buchenwald. I was in Buchenwald for about not more than 2 or 3 weeks, because there you didn't get anything to eat, despite the fact that the administration tried. And from there I was taken by HaShoah, the people that I had been working for all the time, the Hugo Schneider Aktiengesellschaft, to a place called Kolditz, where I spent from about January to beginning of April. From April, I was on a death march from Kolditz to Theresienstadt. I was in Theresienstadt for a couple of weeks when I was liberated by the Russian army.
Do you forgive the perpetrators?
I believe it's possible, but I believe it's something false, because what actually happens when you when you think of something, that you've done bad, and or somebody forgives it to you, and you feel better, it's a very egoistical type of thing. It's purely something to help you to kind of try and justify that what you did wasn't as bad as what it was. But I personally cannot understand how you can possibly forgive what happened at the Holocaust. Any perpetrator of the Holocaust, anybody that thought about creating the Holocaust, should never be forgiven. It is something that is not. It's not like a sin that you've done because you lit a candle on Shabbat when you shouldn't be doing, and you kind of pray for forgiveness for God. Well, it's not a big deal. It's not a terrible thing. You hope you are forgiven, and that makes you feel better. But that's not, you can't even compare it.
Why did the Jews go like lambs to the slaughter?
When I hear that word, that Jews went to the slaughter and they did not resist, I see red. And the reason why I do that, and I don't easily do that, is because everything that a Jew under the heel of the Nazis, everything that he did was an act of resistance. When he prayed, it was an act of resistance. When he tried to keep himself alive, that was an act of resistance. He fought sometimes, and that was an act of resistance. All the rules that they made, which were broken on a continuous basis, were acts of resistance. And to the very last moment in the concentration camp, with your last breath, you tried to exist, you tried to outlive them, and that was to defeat them. And morally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, you resisted all the time. Davening in the concentration camp was to be killed. But people davened. You prayed. You weren't allowed to pray. There were people that we observed holidays, Tisha B'Av, fasts. People were fasting on Tisha B'Av. They were starving, but they 24 hours, because it was part of their spiritual resistance. So when you talk to me about resistance, that Jews went like sheep to the slaughter, I just see red.
Do you have hope?
I am most hopeful that the world is going to be a better place than the one I lived in. And I really feel that it's important for everybody to strive towards that. And that's my hope that the world will be a much better place.
So there are about 55 Holocaust survivors who have provided a testimony like this. You can talk to Pinchas for 20 hours about his life and views of the world and so forth. Also, your very own Ben Lesser here from Las Vegas with his Zachor Foundation. Gail's here somewhere. We wish Ben well. He's in hospital today. But Ben spent 5 days and gave his testimony also for the Zachor Foundation so that his story could continue also for future generations. Now, we started with a picture of Rose. If you've got your barcode, if you can grab that. If not, I'll give it you later. We started with the story of Rose. And you remember that Heather said, I just want to make sure that in future my grandchildren will be able to speak to Rose. And when she first had that conversation, it wasn't possible to do this. In 2018, we got the pleasure of calling Rose and saying, Rose, do you remember you did those first few questions? We'd like to invite you back so that you can be interviewed. And she answered 850 questions about her life for future generations. And here's the kicker. Heather had a grandchild the same month that Rose passed away. And one day, Lily will have opportunity to talk to Rose and have that conversation that Heather always wished that she could. The story gets better. So smart, so intelligent, so wonderful was Heather Mayo. I married her, and she's sitting right there. Here today, we're talking not only about the past, we're talking about the future. Door to door, we hope that from generation to generation, not only will we have strong identity, not only will we continue to remember, but also we will pass your stories, all of those of you who are survivors here today, we will treasure what you have shared with us. We will honor the lights that are burning here today, and we will continue to light them for generations to come. Because it's only in remembering the past that we earn the right for our future. And for that, we will always remain loyal to what you have said and all that it means. Thank you. Not getting away with that.
I want to thank you properly, and it's hard to do it when you're sitting so far away. You're going to be here for a few minutes to talk to folks after we're done, just to answer a few questions. I'm sure somebody here has questions. I am still blotting the tears from under my eyes. On behalf of the Board of Rabbis of Southern Nevada, on behalf of Jewish Nevada, all of our amazing sponsors who have supported today, generations of the Shoah, Esther, this would not have happened without you. You made the most wonderful shidduch for all of us today, so thank you. The work that you do is so important. I want to also thank Ricky, our accompanist, and Alex, our sound guy, and all the people at Congregation Near to Mead from behind the scenes that made this happen. Stephen, the work you do is remarkable. Most of us are on a journey to make meaning in our lives. And the meaning that you have brought to all of us in just this short amount of time, I can't imagine how your soul and your spirit must just fly through the work that you do from the meaning that you must be making for yourself and for all of us. And so on behalf of this community, I want to say a gracious thank you for traveling to come and spend time with us with your bride.
Thank you.
Yes, get to come to Las Vegas.
So while I've got you here, Rabbi, one thing I didn't say, but I think is really powerful and meaningful for me being here. For 30 years, I was involved in countering anti-Semitism and fighting for Holocaust memory. I came from a Methodist background, from a Christian background, and made it I felt it was so important that non-Jewish people are vigilant, are working hard to defeat anti-Semitism. But I switched sides. 3 weeks before October the 7th, I converted to Judaism. I had my mikveh and my first aliyah. And I went to the Bima, and that morning, a Holocaust survivor from Los Angeles who heard I was doing my first Aliyah came to the synagogue, completely unexpected. And he was sitting just where Stephen's sitting in front of me. And I told the rabbi, I said, Rabbi, the gentleman on the front's a Holocaust survivor. He said, you think he would want to be doing Aliyah? I said, you should ask. So he came up, and there I was standing at the Torah. I was on the left of the Torah by this time, and he was on the right. His name's Aaron Bell. And it was a beautiful moment. And then the rabbi says, hey, do you want to do a little drash? I went, of course I do.
So Jewish.
We finished the Torah service, and I addressed Aaron. And I said to him, Aaron Bell, because of you and your 3 brothers, he was one of the last surviving member of the Bielski partisans. Because of you and your 3 brothers, there are 40,000 Jewish people alive in the world today. And I'm going to make a promise to you that because you were prepared to go into the forest and fight, I will make a promise to fight for this Torah, fight for the language in the Torah, fight for our history and our culture and our country. And if I have to, just as you and your 3 brothers did, I will fight with my bare hands. A few weeks later, October the 7th happened. The week after that, there was a bat mitzvah in the same synagogue at the same bima. And this little 12-year-old finished her, I say little, I mean she was little, she was standing on a box so she could see over the bima. It was the parsha for the Tower of Babel. And she took on Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and a bunch of other people who she felt were jeopardizing her generation. And then she got off the bima, and as you know all too well, at that moment there was a mazel tov and a simon tov. It was beautiful, and normally it would die down after 45 seconds. And 5 minutes later, a week after October the 7th, the entire congregation was dancing around that little girl. And I turned to Heather and I said, and that is why we've been around 6,000 years.
Can't walk away on that. Stephen, thank you for sharing that story as a coda to your presentation today. Truly, you are part of the generation to generation, from Lador, Vador, to all of us. So, everyone, thank you. Your time is your most precious gift that you can share with us. It is so meaningful to see so many people here. On behalf of all of our survivors in our community, we support you. We love you. We want to be present with and for you. Please let us know how to do that. Thank you all for being here. Zohraim Tovi.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Really. Yeah, sort of added on.
I served a congregation in Chicago.
Oh, so you know Aaron then?
And I believe with Aaron, we got introduced to the holograms. Had a lot of members that were
Yeah.
That next day he died.
Oh, yeah, same time.
Was it recorded?
Huh?
Was it recorded?
We were supposed to be doing it
Like a live stream?
As far as I know, she was in charge of that.
I hope so. I'd like to see a copy.
I don't know.
I would like to see a copy.
I think it's stuff like that.
It may be on.
Okay. Well,
Are you happy?
Roberta, we can blow those out. Put them in the box. We use them.
I think it went very well.
Yeah, it went great. It was fabulous. I was so nervous about this technology, but it worked like a charm. Could not have asked for anything better.
Good. I thought it was, I knew he was going to be good.
Well, not everyone can speak extemporaneous like that, even if he's done it 100 times. Guy
Sure.
is a natural teacher. Noah got that great accent.
He's good.
Everyone behaved themselves, so I think it went great. How about last night? It's good. You're at your home. No, last night.
Thursday.
Oh, my days are blowing together. Thursday.
It was okay. We had 61 teachers sign up, and I made
Yeah.
places for them all over town. About 20 showed up. Fortunately for me, I had other people that came too, so I had an
Filled in.
extra. But Ray had only one person, and 3 survivors at my place, and only 1 showed up. Next, I'm not doing it for teachers anymore. I will do it, and teachers are welcome to come. I'm not doing it for teachers. It's just was
Did
unfortunate.
they get credit?
The ones who showed up, yeah.
Yeah. So you think they'd show up and get credit. They need that credit.
I think you also put a shout out. So, yeah, I knew Stephen is terrific.
Yeah.
I knew he would be.
Well, I told Felipe technically it's supposed to go to his place next year. This is my place. I said, yeah. I don't know. I'm retiring, so you guys decide on the rotation.
Well, I think it went well. It was recorded.
Ask Leslie, hey, do you know, did we have this recorded on live
It
stream?
was live streaming, so I assume it was, I have to ask Leslie, she had to go in the back.
You have to ask Leslie. You have to ask Leslie.
I'll get it from Leslie. Okay, and let you know.
You should be very proud. You made this all happen.
Well,
too.
yeah, but I'm always happy to listen to Stephen. I've heard him many times, so I knew. I've known him for a long time.
Thank you for the shit. So important. I need to get my bag out of your office.
Okay.
All right. Take care of you, Esther. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Trash. Oh, Leslie, this was recorded? If it was on live stream? Yes. It should have been recorded. Yes. Esther Finder